Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I thought as a quick video today I would do a quick walkthrough of my current rig in the studio. At the moment it's set up more for live performances, but at the same time I can use it to record. So there's some gear choices here which are really here just for performing live, and I'll explain a few of those as we go through. So let's crack on and have a look and see what we've got. So directly in front of me are my two keyboards. On the top is my Casio CZ101, which is a digital synthesizer from the 1980s. And beneath that is my Arturia Keylab Mark II, which is a MIDI controller. Now both of these are connected to everything via the wonders of MIDI. The old Casio is of the DIN plug variety, and although the Arturia can also take that, I'm actually using USB MIDI for this. So that's really the input and the workhorse area of my setup, and works well for me. It's on a double stand, just more to keep everything tidy and within quite a confined space. That's one of the problems when it comes to recording with live streaming in general, really, that everything needs to be in hand, and with limited numbers of cameras, is what to make it so it's all as compact as possible. It doesn't forego the fact that it's a wiring nightmare, but you'll get to see some of that shortly. If we move over to the right, and try not to get too much light in the way here, we've got my my Rode microphone. This is a dynamic mic, and so I'm using that today so it picks up the sound without me needing to be right on top of it. Beneath it, so the latest addition to the studio is a condenser mic, which is just a basic one. I've normally got one of these plugs into the mixer, we'll look at that shortly, and one into the audio interface. On the table next to me, I've got my studio monitors, which are PreSonus 3.5, so there's one and there's the other, and I use those obviously when I'm mixing and just listening back to the tracks. Obviously for live streaming, with having live microphones, I need to have those switched off and I use the headphones. The laptop is purely for the purposes of live streaming. I'm running OBS on that, and that's bringing all the audio in for this video at the moment. And as I say, we use this for actually live streaming as well. If I wasn't recording and doing the live streaming, the playing live, then the laptop isn't actually needed. The reason that I'm using OBS and a mixer rather than just going through my audio interface is to ensure that the signal that comes out of the iPad and onto the stream is actually in stereo, rather than whatever's been put through channel 1 coming out on the left side and channel 2 on the right side, which may be what you want. It doesn't really work for what I do. So we'll move away from the laptop. I can talk about the OBS setup if you're interested. Just leave a comment below, and we can go into that in another video. The main workhorse and the brains of the system is of course the iPad. I've got it running AUM at the moment, and a few things loaded in there. I'm just doing some practice for the next live show. I'll be on the No Emis channel. So yeah, this is all soft synthesizers being used here. I do have the Casio is a hardware synth. The Model D is a hardware synth. That's currently hiding out the way at the moment because my current setup doesn't have quite enough desk space, and it seems that no matter how much desk space that you put out there, the gear will fill it. So the iPad is connected via an Apple camera connection kit, and this is the USB-C variety because I've got an Air 4, and we've got the USB-C power, we've got the HDMI output, and that's going into the laptop for the purposes of the streaming, and then I've got a USB hub, which is a powered hub, and that's hiding behind the iPad. Now, you will have seen the hub before. I think I've done a video on it ages ago. But essentially, this is where I can connect my audio interface, my hardware synths, the MIDI controller, and like external hard disks and that sort of thing. It's all very unsexy and involves a lot of cables going everywhere, but it's important for what I do. But that's the one that's connecting the iPad up to my audio interface. It's completely separate from the laptop, which has its own hub. In fact, it's got two hubs. We've got one looking after the camera and another one which is under there, which is taking the video feed from the iPad. And the reason that I've got two USB hubs coming out of the laptop is basically when you've got too many sort of bandwidth hungry things like cameras, if you put them all in the same one, it all chokes and dies, and that's very sad, and we don't like that. Just hiding behind the monitor is my iRig 2 MIDI box, which is connecting the Casio, which only has the MIDI DIN plugs, through to the USB socket, which is going into the iPad. So therefore, both my keyboards are able to control the soft synthesizers, and the Casio itself can also output audio. And in this current setup, that's not actually set up. That would have to go into the audio interface. So let's come down. As I say, this is when you talk about multi-layered operations, this is what's going on here. This is really behind the scenes. So this is my Focusrite audio interface, which is really taking all the audio from the iPad, and it's either pumping it out to my monitor speakers, my headphones, and also the mixer, which then goes into the laptop. So great little box. It's sort of fully committed at the moment. I've got microphone and my guitar plugged into the inputs on there. Obviously, if I want to put the Model D or the Casio through, I'd have to disconnect one of those. But it works and it's fine. And as I say, it's a nice solid little box, and I'm really happy with it. One of the newer additions to the setup is my Yamaha Mixer, and this is the MG10 XUF, because it's got these rather dinky faders on there, and they seem to be very hard to come by at the moment. It was Hobson's choice. I could only get this one because the one without the faders is out of stock everywhere, but there you go. Now, the mixer isn't needed for the purposes of actually recording music. The mixer isn't required for recording music. It's purely there to allow me to live stream and get everything in stereo. So it can take in an additional mics, it can take in all the audio from the laptop if needed, the iPad, the guitar and everything else. It's all mixed in, and then what gets output through OBS is actually in stereo, which is the main goal of the exercise there. As I say, without the mixer, it becomes a problem because you end up taking everything through an audio interface, which is two mono signals, which translate to left and right. And so if somebody's listening to headphones and you've got a vocal mic on the left channel and a guitar on the right channel, it's going to sound really weird and probably cause ears to bleed and that sort of thing. So something to bear in mind if you're thinking about doing live streaming. But if you're just trying to record your synthesizers or your guitars, or whatever you've got, through your iPad, you don't need a mixer. That's an additional thing. Let's move on to some of the other hardware and stuff. And this is really going properly behind the scenes of everything. We've obviously got the camera, which is running at the moment. That is my Logitech C920, and that's doing a sterling job. I've got a couple of studio lights just to try and balance the light out a little bit. And then of course I've got my guitar, which is down there. And you can see in the background the sheer rat's nest of cables everywhere and power adapters. And yeah, this is the bit that they don't tell you about, that you really can't avoid. And of course I've got a green screen because it's much nicer than just seeing a dirty window or just a reflection of the camera, because I'm normally streaming at night. Anyway, that was just a really quick run through of the setup in my studio. I thought it might be useful just in case it's something which you're thinking of setting up or wondering where to start. If you've got any questions about any of the gear I use or how I set things up, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will do my level best to answer them. So yeah, any questions or comments, leave in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It always helps the algorithm know that the channel's doing something and people are interested and watching, or at least watching anyway. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing to the channel. Again, that's useful for YouTube to know that something's happening with the channel. And yes, until the next one, thanks for watching. Take care now.